Guys, someone should really tell the director of Mob that using the first opening is not fair. It's not fair at all. They knew what they were doing, man. Ugh. But anyway, welcome back to the channel for the final episode of Mob today. And it's been a ride. I probably look pretty bad right now. My face is probably all red. And I'll admit, I teared up a little bit watching the episode. I did. What a fantastic finale, just everything I wanted. Besides maybe one thing, but I'd say it's basically there. So let's just get straight into it and talk about Mob Psycho 100, Season 3, Episode 12, the series finale. And let's talk about it. Now, immediately, the first scene of our episode is already a scene I really, really like. As we see the tornado, aka Mob, just slowly approaching Tsubami. As she decides, maybe I should move from this spot. So she starts to walk away, but then she thinks about Mob. And she thinks about the courage that it took him to do what he did. Because I don't think Tsubami's really stupid, honestly. I think she knows why he's calling her out here. So she actually decides to sit down and wait for him. And I really like that a lot, Even with our outcome later on, I think that's a really good thing that she did. That she at least respects him enough to sit there and wait for him and hear the words from him personally. I really like that a lot. And as we transition to Reagan and Serizawa, they're trying just desperately to even get close to Mob with this storm that he's bringing with him. As Reagan says, this is Mob's power? And Shirazawa tells him that, I don't believe he's doing this willingly. He must have suffered some kind of shock, sending his powers out of control. As Reagan asks Shirazawa, is that unusual? Because I don't think it is. And it's here Shirazawa actually tells Reagan in a panic, alright, we need to head back now. Reagan's like, why? We came this far. What's gotten into you? As he tells him, it feels like my energy's being stolen away at an alarming rate. If this keeps up, I'm not going to be able to protect you here. But Reagan puts his hand on his shoulder in this instance and says, in that case, you go on and head back. As Reagan says, there's something I want to talk to Mob about alone. Let me go alone. As he starts braving this storm alone, with no powers, debris flying everywhere. Incredibly dangerous. And as we transition back to Mob, we see that he's still having that conflict within himself as he says, I can't go to Tsubami like this. If she ever saw me like this. But Shigeo tells him that, but this form is exactly what Tsubami needs to see. If she could still accept me after seeing this, that would make me happy. Ever since Tsubami lost interest in my powers, Mob stopped using them. But that was the wrong decision. As Mob tells him, you don't think changing yourself for someone you love is natural? As Shigeo tells him, I don't. At least, not when we're talking about Tsubami. You should try to remember why you liked her in the first place. As Shigeo tells him, Tsubami didn't treat us any differently even though I could use psychic powers. She was kind to the both of us as a friend. She accepted us. It wasn't you that fell in love with Tsubami. It was me. And it's here we see that Reagan has caught up to Mob and is desperately trying to get his attention. And they realize he's there as Mob says, Master doesn't treat me any differently. But Shigeo tells him, you can stop pretending now. That man is a liar. As Mob argues that he saved him so many times. But Shigeo tells him that's only because you were worth using. That man is only interested in using my powers for his work. Meaning he gave me different and more special treatment than anyone else. That's all there is between us. But it's all fine now, because no stranger can tame me anymore. As he says, just look at him. That shocked face. As Reagan actually gets hit in the head with a rock. And Shigeo says, he's already frightened of me. But Reagan's not going to give up so easily, as he gets up and says, I had no idea. This is what you've been holding in all this time? And yet, I had no idea. I truly had no idea. I'm sorry. As we see that Mob completely fades away here, and all that's left is Shigeo Kageyama. As Reigen starts sprinting towards him, saying, I have something I have to say to you. As Shigeo just keeps using his powers to blow him further and further away. But Reigen refuses to give up. He gets thrown around like a rag doll right here, slammed into cars, into buildings, literally leaving craters and indents on his impact, but he refuses to give up, and he keeps running towards Mob. And as Reigen is laying there with the insurmountable odds of Mob stacked against him, we start hearing the first opening playing. So Reigen strips his shoes off and says, I didn't want to lose to you, so I was secretly working out too. And it's here we get this incredible sequence where Reigen just, with Mob throwing everything at him, literally psychic powers, everything at him, Reigen is still going after him, dodging buildings, running under them, sprinting at full speed so he can get to him and tell him what he needs to tell him. It's an incredible sequence that really makes me respect Reigen. And as he's right about to reach him, we get flashbacks to all their scenes together. And it's really emotional right here as he's right about to reach him. But he falls just a little short and gets slammed into the ground. But that's not going to stop him. He grabs Mob's leg and says, please, just listen to me for a bit. As Shigeo says, no, I can't listen to him. I've finally been freed. But Reigen will not give up at this point. And as we transition to Mob right outside of the park, literally right on the cusp of being at the park where Tsubame is, he says, I'll be able to see her soon. But standing in his way is Reigen, as he says, hey Mob, there's something I haven't been able to tell you for a while now. As he actually tries to blow Reigen away right here, but Reigen grabs his hand instead. As he says, there's something I need to tell you right now. Before you go and see Tsubame. And as Mob ups the intensity of his power as he's throwing at Reigen, Reigen stops him because we see that Dimple was inside of him this whole time. As he says, Shigeo, because you've been waiting for me deep down inside. It looks like I wasn't destroyed after all. And then I was able to come back because I was drawn into this spiral of power. Partner, let's hear what Reigen has to say. As Reigen says, Dimple, I know you just saved me and all, but could you give us a minute? As Dimple's reluctant to do it, but he does end up leaving Reigen's body so he can talk to Mob alone. As Reigen finally admits to Mob, Mob, I don't have any spiritual or psychic powers. I don't have any powers. I never did. And this right here is the shock that Mob needs to calm down and come back to normal to an extent. And it's here that Reigen just lays everything on the table for him. As he says, it was a lie from the start. I lie a lot to my customers and to you. The first day you came to my office, I lied to you. I heard you out, thinking I had some idea of what you were going through. But you believed me so easily. That's why from that day on until today, I've been using you this entire time. The truth is, I don't know a damn thing about psychic powers. This is the real me. I'm sorry that I acted like your master the whole time. But let me just say one last thing. This doesn't make you any different or special. Everyone has another side to them. Even me. Just between you and me, I absolutely despise the other side I'm hiding. But it's because of my lies that you came into my life. And you're who you are today because of your powers, aren't you? As he says, you're fine. Just the way you are. You don't need me anymore. Just go ahead and accept yourself already. You'll be able to do that because you're you, Mom. And as we transition to the explosion meter rising again, we hear Mob say, "You heard what Master said." As Shigeo says, "Are you telling me that you're going to accept me finally?" As Mob tells him, "No. I want you to accept me too. Just like everyone else did. Let's go back to how things used to be." As Shigeo says, "What if she turns you down?" And Mob looks at him and says, "It'll be okay." As he extends his hand to him and says, "Let's go. Together." As we see for the first time, Shigeo Kageyama 100%. And it's here we see Mob not even say a word and just start walking to Tsubami. As Reagan tells Dimple, let him go alone. As Dimple asks him, is Tsubami even waiting for him? But Reagan tells him, Mob's the only one who needs to know that. And after waiting for a while, they see Mob walking back, flowers still in hand, as he smiles at them and says, "She rejected me. She said that she has still yet to see me in that way." As Mob does start crying here, which is completely understandable. As Reagan wraps his arm around him and says, things like this happen. At least she was actually waiting for you. Which is true. I didn't think she would be either, myself personally. So it's kind of wild she was actually waiting for him. As he says, things are just getting started for you. And they quite literally walk into the sunset. And as we transition to some time later, we see that things are going fantastic for Mob. He's actually the vice captain of the Body Improvement Club, and he helps run it, as he's telling the new recruits that last year, I got anemic pretty quickly, but I was able to get this far with the help of everyone else. So let's all help each other out when things get rough. And as we transition to him talking with Ritsu, we see that Ritsu has become the vice president and that everything is just going great for both of them right now. And as they're walking by and they see a cat up a pole, instead of using his powers, Mob actually decides to climb the pole himself, really showcasing that he's come a long way and he's changed. And after meeting up with Hanazawa, they actually go back to Reagan's work, and we see that Tomi's there with Shirazawa. As we see that Shirazawa really stepped up into the role of an advisor, and he's working really hard for the agency now. And we see that Tomi became the secretary there, which I think is honestly a really good position for her. I think it's a really, really fitting for Tomi to work there. As she tells Mob, so how are things going with you and your girlfriend over there? Mob gets all embarrassed, like, she's not my girlfriend, she rejected me. But Ritsu reveals that, they talk on the phone every once in a while with each other, to Mob's embarrassment. And I gotta be honest, that's not what I wanted to see with the Tsubami stuff, but I'd say Mob's in there. I'd say he's got it, he's pretty good. And it's here we just see a bunch of characters that we've all met previously, all coming together in this one place for one very special occasion. And it's here we see Reagan walking back to the agency, as he's like, yokai my ass. It was just some old dude with a butt chin. They kept nagging me to do an exorcism, so I just randomly spread some salt around. And as Reagan walks into the room, he gets a big surprise. Everyone was there to wish him a happy birthday the entire time. As Dimple says, your eyes seem kind of red, Reagan. Ritsu's just like, aw, what, are you gonna cry, Reagan? Tomi's just like, aren't I a capable secretary? Raise my pay now. As she smacks him in the back, Reagan falls, dropping the cake. And someone catches it with powers as he falls face first in it. As we just see everyone just start laughing their asses off from this, except for Reagan, of course. And our episode ends with us seeing Mob laughing and smiling as well. And our series ends. And guys, Mob is a special show. Mob's a very special show, in my opinion, It's not the most flashy show, or even the most well-animated. It's not. That's not its shtick. That's not its gimmick. That's not where the soul of this series lies. The soul of this series is its heart. Its characters and its heart. How there's just so much love put into everything. Every episode, even the goofy ones, you see the love put into this series. The passion behind it. The dedication to make it the best thing that it can be. And it's honestly incredible. It really is. Like I said, Mob is a special series that I'm going to hold in my heart personally because I absolutely love it to death. Mob is such a relatable character to so many people. He really is. Someone who, you know, is actually quite extraordinary on the outside, but who has self-doubts and kind of doesn't like themselves very much. So they put up a shell. They put up an outer layer over them. And in Mob's case, it was the persona of Mob himself. And how with just a little push from the people around you that care, and a little bit of courage, you can come out of that shell yourself and become someone truly special that shines. And Mob, I think, is the epitome of that. So I'm gonna hate to see it go, but at the same time, I love that it ended in this way. This is without a doubt a perfect ending to an amazing series. So until next time, guys, I hope you have a great day, week, month, and year. And, you know, find people out there that make you smile like Mob did at the end of this episode. Because if you do, you're already a winner. So I'll see you guys next time.